Anyway, no. I just have a little bit to say about these drones. My son and I see them all the time after rolling up with the dogs. There were a couple of them that flew over helicopters. They fly real low. Sometimes they're really loud, not the kamikaze, because they sound like zero. Kamikaze aircraft, the engines are so loud. There was one night a couple of years ago, I was at Walmart, and I'd driven through Broadmoor, and there was a helicopter that was flying just above the treetops while I was driving through Broadmoor, and then I went to Walmart, so I didn't know. Well, to think of it, I came out from Walmart, and that damn helicopter was hanging right above my Durango. I just looked up at it, and I was kind of stunned. It wasn't, it was might have been 50 feet above the ground, maybe 75, but it was really close. And I didn't know what to do. I stood there and looked up, and nobody communicated anything to me. It was right above my truck, and there's a Walmart parking lot. Nobody goes to Walmart. No. Of course, it's the number one retailer in the United States, Walmart. Shit, fuck me, man. Fuck a duck. No offense to the Duck Dynasty people. They're not that far from here in Monroe. No, really. You got the air base about 3 miles from here, North American Strategic Nuclear Command Center. So I can understand, we probably got all those little espionage people running all over the place trying to protect the air base. The other day I was sitting on the bus bench. There was a black Apache helicopter came cutting across the sky, just above the treetops. I asked one guy 2 years ago, I said, what is up with these drones, these helicopters and stuff? And he said, oh, they don't have they're not following you around. They just have business where you go. Really. I guess I bought the wrong brand of toilet paper at Walmart that night. I don't know. Fuck me. I've seen a documentary on TV that was about the use of drones in foreign countries. And the ones in foreign countries are armed and they do shoot weapons. The unmanned drones are operated by a pilot that sits behind a computer screen with a joystick in the military. And the ones that I saw on TV sounded just like the one that sounds like a kamikaze plane from World War II. So those people in the Middle East know what that sound means when they hear it, and they know it's an armed aircraft. Unmanned they talk about it on the video, the people in the Middle East do. And, I understand, we're in military activity going on. This country, war on terrorism, state of war on terrorism. There was a local magazine, front page of a local magazine back in the last year, a man that sells drones locally, and he has them anywhere from $100 to a few $1,000 you can spend on them and buy one yourself. He says that he can't keep them on the shelf. People buy them up, I've seen the ones that are about the size of this table right here that fly real low. You know, they fly over this house like that with that kamikaze sounding engine all the time. So, I don't know. Anybody that ever needed to know where I go and what I do, all you got to do is ask. You know, remember Hulk Hogan had that TV show where he low-jacked his daughter's car. He put a GPS locator on it to follow her movements to see if she was going or her boyfriend was going where they said they were and stuff. You know, I'm not a drug dealer. I've never done drugs a day in my life. I'm not a pedophile. I've never been charged with a crime. I went down to the police station. Told him I thought I was being followed around by these damn things. The guy said, "Lady, you're talking about aircraft following you around." That's what the desk sergeant told me. Commanding officer. I don't know, like 6 or 8 cops standing there at the desk. I told him I thought my house was bugged too. I wanted to press charges, but I don't know who you press charges against. I've never met the helicopter pilots. And say I'm crazy if you want to. But everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. You know, I can't be the only person in this community that does. And even if you try to say that I'm misinterpreting things and I'm just making it personal, well, fuck me running, damn it. What the hell? Are you serious? What on God's green earth would anybody do something like that for? And nobody's ever asked me for assistance. I'm not a terrorist. Hadn't anybody ever told me any reason why they needed to use any type of aircraft surveillance on me and my son. And I used to ignore it. And my son was little. He looked out the window. This old station wagon I used to drive, we called her Old Bessie. Just like most of the time, she stayed broke down. He looked out the window, and he was little. He said, "Oh, look, it's the North Star." And it has the helicopter flying above our car, a big giant light on him. It was, you know, probably a couple 100 feet in the air, but he looked out the driver's window and the passenger window. He was in his car seat then. I said, "Yes, sweetheart, it's North Star." Then a couple of years passed. So. Well, I mean, why is the helicopter following us? I don't know, sweetheart. Well, it was over when we went to the grocery store. It was over the parking lot. And now we're driving up the road, and they're still there. Why is it doing that? I don't know, honey. I'm so sorry. I don't know. It's just the government. They're doing their job. Okay. Now he's 13. He knows what the actual titles are of the aircraft. That's an Apache. That's a whatever serial number goes with that big aircraft vehicle or airplane, whatever. He can identify them now. So, all I can say is anybody ever needed to know where I go and what I do, you know. And I came out of that Walmart on Tripper Barstow a couple years ago, and there was that helicopter 50, 75 feet above my Durango. Jacob wasn't with me. I just stood there and looked up at it, and nobody nobody tried to communicate with me or, I don't know, call Steven Spielberg, I guess. One night it happened to me and Jake. We were over in Bossier at that big sporting goods store over there on Bean Road. And there was one that flew really, really low and slow. An aircraft in the sky flew really, really slow, just above the parking lot. Big light on it. And so Jake and I did the thing from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. How does it go? So I guess we'd have to call Steven Spielberg and ask him for some of those lights. We could just put them on top of my Durango. And maybe I should buy a lot of mashed potatoes. I like mashed potatoes. Jacob doesn't like them anymore, though. He used to, but he doesn't anymore. I used to make mashed potatoes from scratch, too, but, I don't even buy them. No offense to the people in Idaho. So I understand the war on terrorism and all that kind of stuff, but, I'm not a terrorist, and anybody that needed to know anything about what I do every day and where I go, and you can put a pilot in the front seat of my vehicle if you want to. I would do anything for my country, and nobody's ever asked me for any information or cooperation in anything, but it is dumbfounding to me to try and understand why somebody would use aircraft to surveil American citizens in that manner. But I won't ask them for cooperation or tell them, this is it and this is what we need from you. No offense to you, but, whatever the situation is, to me that would just be the easiest thing in the world to do. A real terrorist would have been gone like the wind. Osama bin Laden could have hired 1,000 lawyers and built a 10-story building with 100 lawyers on each floor to file lawsuits for him, and he probably still would have dropped the Twin Towers. So I don't see how doing something like that is a deterrent. I saw a special on TV about the use of drones in the Middle East, and they are armed in the Middle East, drones are, with weapons, and people in the Middle East in that documentary were saying they knew when they heard those engines. It sounds like kamikaze, just like these aircraft that fly over here. Same sound. Except those ones are armed with weapons and they kill people. So, threat of an imminent attack is what that implies, that there's some type of imminent military response required or at bay. All I know is, you can LoJack a car and put a GPS locator on it. I would be cooperative with anybody that needed my assistance. I am just not an espionage agent. I weigh 300 pounds, my ass is 3 feet wide. I have excessive facial hair, and I work at Circle K. There's cameras there, too. I don't care if you shove a DSL cable at my ass, if it would help save the lives of American citizens. And I think most Americans would say that if there was anything that any of us could do to bring back those people that died in 9/11, I think we would all do it. And if there was anything we could have done prior to that event that would have prevented those people from dying, I think that George Bush was right. to institute the use of those types of measures to prevent the terrible catastrophes that have occurred in this country and in other countries too. You got this bunch of wackos, the ISIS terrorist group, and they hate us. They all hate us. I don't know why they hate us so much, but and it kind of gets on your nerves a little bit with these fucking drones, I can tell you that much, and helicopters and all this stuff, you know, I was sitting on the park bench, or sitting on the bus bench, and they're coming, that Apache across the sky, just above the treetops, dropped down out of the sky about 3 blocks to my left, flew across the trees, across the street, about 5 blocks, and then back up again. So, that's all I can say. You know, anybody that wants my help, all you need to do is ask for it, but nobody's ever done that. Best answer I got was from one guy, you know, saying, well, they're not following you around, they just have business where you are. Well, I'm not a terrorist, and if you don't like the toilet paper I flushed down my toilet, I'll be glad to buy another brand. But I can think of 1,000 different ways you could spend that money more productively to fuel an aircraft. I think one way might be to use the money to pay for Obamacare premiums. There are people like me that live in poverty that can't afford even the premiums that Obama has come up with. And rather take the fine and pay it as they're able to than to make payments on monthly premiums. There's families that lost their insurance that they've had for decades, and their premiums for health insurance doubled because of Obamacare. You know, that's one place you could spend the money. As many people as I've seen on the street that are homeless here, you could use the money to build another homeless shelter. Some of the schools I've worked in, I think you could probably use the money to hire more teachers and that type of thing. Textbooks and supplies, school uniforms. There's a lot of places to spend the money. You don't need to spend it on me. And if there's a reason you need to spend it on me, you need to tell me what it is, doing something like that to me and my son. Because it's not necessary. You know, if you need to know where I go and what I do every day and who I talk to, I don't have anything to hide. And I'm doing the best I can to surround me and my son with what resources I have. You know, cell phone camera. I can't be the only person in the country that finds that to be a little bit invasive. Shall we say, a little bit? It's an understatement. It's an extreme, and it's a spectacle is what it is. And, you know, this is the United States of America. This is a free country. This is not a war zone. And I hope like hell it never is one. I think that you need to send people like Hulk Hogan to be those air marshals, because I thought about that, and I thought, you know, I know wrestling is all fake and everything, but people that are trained in tactical, physical wrestling type interactions, and like the SWAT guys and all that, they know how to take a knife from somebody. Here comes a kamikaze now. You know, so all I'm saying is if you need, really is that important to you, you know, I was a substitute teacher, and I still am in some schools that I'd get to school and there would be that damn kamikaze plane, and I remember being on playground duty. Here come a helicopter with a drone, both of them doing circles around the playground. Loud as all get out. These are elementary school age children, probably all under age 10. They were all under age 10. Second, third graders. 50 faces on the playground of small children turn and look up at the helicopter and the drone doing circles around the playground. Just when I went out to do recess duty, and that's happened to me over and over again, I remember asking the school security, what's that about, I don't know what's the answer. Because nobody, what the hell, really? I feel like I'm a branded cow. People say all that kind of stuff, and it implies that you've got to be a terrorist. Forget Colombian drug lord. That's small potatoes compared to being followed around by aircraft, really. It's such an extreme, and people have to see that, and people that do criminal things have to see that. What if I was somehow involved in something like that, or was a witness and didn't know it, to some type of terrorist activity? And that is what is being done to me. Wouldn't the terrorists see it too? And if I'm supposed to be a threat to somebody who's done something criminal, wouldn't you be painting a red X on me every time you flew one of those dang birds over me and my son? It'd be like broadcasting where me and my son are. So how do I know that that's not the situation? Because, I'm not a terrorist or anything, but why would you do something like that? Use an aircraft like that without some type of legitimate concern? And why, if you had a concern like that, wouldn't you just ask somebody for their cooperation? It's a little bit cheaper, isn't it, if you just use plain English, cell phones? I thought about using smoke signals, but it's against the law to burn open fires in the city limits. So, really, I don't know what words I can say about that. I don't know what else I could actually, what conclusion. I don't have an answer to that one. It's so bizarre to me. It's such a bizarre thing to do, in my opinion, and I'm sure that somebody's got some good reason for it, but I don't have anything to hide. And, I don't do anything to justify anything like that. So, I've never been charged with a crime. So, I know the state of Virginia at one point had a moratorium on the use of drones because their Congress in the state of Virginia wanted to examine the constitutionality of the use of aircraft to surveil the citizens of Virginia. So the rules or the laws that govern that type of activity are different in every state. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't have an answer. I've seen, different sized ones. People can buy them too, so you can go buy one and fly it yourself if you got the money. The guy in that paper article I read, he said he couldn't keep them. People bought them up so quick. One is glad to be of service. If you need something from me, all you gotta do is ask for it. I don't care if you want to shove a DSL cable up my ass. But really, I think you might try the English language first before you use drones, aircraft, pilots operating drones and aircraft, and all, There's just a thought there. I know toys are fun to play with, but they say the only difference between a man and a boy is the size of his toys. I don't have a lot of money to go out and buy toys like drones or to retain a lawyer. I got thrown out of the police station for walking in there and trying to file a complaint about it. Police tell me I have to know who to file a complaint against and what their address is. 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I don't know. FBI director, that's in Washington. Some local pilot that just gets his jollies off. You can tell they're official aircraft. I'm pretty sure they don't hand out Apache helicopters to just anybody. So maybe David Letterman could let me borrow this and we could just hop in a helicopter and fly up there and ask him. Take a pizza, you know. Might be a little bit dangerous, though. It's quite a fiasco, really. And I just find the whole thing to be absolutely bizarre. Unnecessary, extreme, and quite a spectacle to see. No wonder people think they must all think I'm a terrorist or something. This must be what they're thinking. People stare at me and my son. I've gotten so used to it. We'll go to a grocery store, and I remember one day we walked into a grocery store, as a lady and her teenage daughter, or young adult daughter, standing there. And one of them looked at us and saw, I didn't know him, I've never met him. She saw me and Jake walk in, and she tapped her daughter. And they both just stood there and stared at us. That was at Brookshire's. That's happened to us at Walmart's too. And Jake said, why are they staring at us? I said, I don't know. I don't know why they're staring at us. I still don't know. I know that I'm not a terrorist. And I know if there was anything I could do to bring back those people from 9/11, I would, but I've never been a terrorist. And if I'm a witness or something like that, I don't think painting a red X on me for the whole community to see is doing anything to help me and my son or protect us. And I don't see how it would be protecting anybody else that's being victimized like that, because all you're doing is painting a red X on where they are. And if they were witnesses to terrorism, then you can be in a helicopter all fucking day, and it's not going to stop somebody from pulling out a rifle and shooting them from across a parking lot, or, knifing them or whatever. So I don't see how that's a protective thing to do. So none of it makes sense to me, and it's stressful. It's stressful to experience. All I know is when stuff like that happens, the only thing that we as Americans have to rely on, when we lose our water, when we lose our electricity, when there are no police on duty, when lucky if you can get the American Red Cross out with a food truck to feed people, like Katrina, and we're Katrina survivors, me and Jake Laura. All we have to rely on is each other, and that is what is true about the American people, is that we do work together when push comes to shove. I saw that myself in Katrina, and I know I would do anything in the world I could to prevent anybody from, acts of terrorism and such. I don't know anything about terrorism. The only thing I can think of is there was one day when my ex-husband came home and we were still married. He had 2 blank top secret documents he'd been working up at Langley CIA headquarters. He'd gotten them from, he was doing asbestos abatement. He was an asbestos abatement supervisor. And he went to do an asbestos abatement at an old CIA building. And he said there was a desk in the corner of an empty big building, and I think it was a desk by a wall, and there were 2 top secret documents that were blank in the top drawer, and it had the official disclaimer, saying, it didn't say this is a souvenir or anything like that on it either. But he walked in the front door, and he's like, look what I found. And he walked over and showed it to my son. And there wasn't anything on it, It looked like an index of just lines like you would see in an inventory sheet or something, but they were all blank. I didn't know anything about hidden ink until my son was watching Discovery Channel when they had an ex-CIA agent on there. And they were talking about how you can write messages with lemon juice. I hadn't seen that episode at that point. So one of them ended up on our refrigerator door, and my ex-husband took the other one and put it in his work truck to take and show his boss. And my ex left to go on a business trip out of town, and it made me nervous, it wasn't anything on it. It was blank, so I figured it wasn't anything to it. It was just somebody left. I'm sure the CIA leaves top secret documents laying around all the time. It's got like serial number at the top, federal regulations against the law. You can't have this. You can go to prison for it. So first, after he left, I wadded it up and threw it in my trash can. Then I thought, well, what if somebody digs through our trash and finds it? So I took it out and I tore it up in little pieces and put it in the trash, and then I realized somebody could get the little pieces and put them back together again. So then I burned the document, and that's Roland walking in. Roland went to Roland's bedroom. Anyway, I didn't know until I saw Mission Impossible that Roland just walked out of Roland's room and walked out the front door. Roland was Special Forces in Vietnam. He was trained by Navy SEAL. He was a Marine Cobra. He's 67. Jolly guy. He'll tell you stories about how he can throw a knife and knock you out or kill you, depending on the way he throws the knife. He was forced recon. He saved many American soldiers' lives in Vietnam. Walked them right out, right into the enemy nose. Saw a lot of bad things happen too. So anyway, I don't know anything else that it could be. I've never been a damn terrorist, and I pulled those shreds of paper, whether I tore it up and put it in the trash can or I thought I was going to tear it up, and I decided just to burn it. So I sat in my living room door with my trash can and burned it. Didn't any numbers or letters show up or anything like that. While I was burning it, no ink or anything like that changed or anything. That's the only thing I can think of. But I'm pretty sure if stuff like that happens, you wake up the next morning with an army of SWAT guys, CIA, NSA, FBI, probably filling your front yard and filling your front yard in the whole freaking street of your neighborhood. And, you know, if you watched Mission Impossible, pretty much looks like you couldn't get a top secret document out of Langley Air Force Base or CIA headquarters unless you were Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt is not a real person. So, you know, my ex-husband works at Aberdeen Proving Grounds now in Maryland. Haven't seen him since my son's birthday in December 26, 2008, when my son turned 8 years old. My ex actually moved out in October 2008. So, that's the only thing I know about anything, and the only reason that he would have ever gotten out of Langley Air Force Base. I used to take him and drop him off to work a couple times, and I couldn't even walk into the gate. You have to be cleared. Anybody, even civilians that work on a military base for a contractor, have to have no criminal record, clear background checks, and all that kind of stuff. So. All I can figure is that it was something somebody left in a desk when they were cleaning out their desk, or it was a clandestine espionage meeting point in an old building that nobody knew about, and my ex-husband happened to point in. Or my ex-husband's a CIA agent or spy, or maybe worse, maybe he was a terrorist, but he never acted like a terrorist. So, I don't think anybody walks out of CIA headquarters with a top secret document, let alone two of them, unless the CIA wants you to have them, which would make him a CIA agent, I guess. Or else it was just a mistake. I just don't think that those are mistakes that the CIA would make, so maybe there's nothing to that. Roland told me if there were real top secret documents that I could have sold them for millions of dollars. And that thought never crossed my mind. I just remember thinking, well, shit, the law says here that I'm not supposed to have this, but there's nothing on it. So, just blank. What the fuck am I supposed to do with it? Shit. destroyed it. I mean, nothing else to do with it.